You are now listening to Vigilantes Radio, presented by the Only One Media Group. This is the people's choice for quality interviews, celebrities, and special guests. Hosted by Demetrius Dini Reynolds. Call in to join the mix at 701-801-9813. For the complete archive of episodes, visit onlyonemediagroup.com and be sure to like us on Facebook at Vigilantes Radio. We welcome all. Enjoy the show. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host, Demetrius Houdini Black Reynolds. Enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome to another awesome episode of Vigilantes Radio. I'm your host, dini-mussolini, and right now there's 28,000 of you guys in our chat room, on the phone line, using Google Hangout. You can using Skype, the browser, all the plugins that I use to run these live episodes. You guys are filling them up, and I appreciate that greatly. We have a very special guest, so you definitely want to stick around for that. So I want you guys to step back. Has this ever happened to you? You stopped at the neighborhood convenience store to pick up a jug of milk. As you walk past the security monitor, you glance at the picture on the screen and think, hey, that person has on the same color shirt as I do. No, not just the same color, it's the exact same shirt. No, wait a minute, that is me. It is a strange feeling to see yourself as someone else would see you, and to momentarily not recognize yourself. Such an experience vividly points out the way you see yourself is not the way others see you. And that's important to keep in mind. Every so often, make a point to step back away from yourself. Look as objectively as you can at your own assumptions, your own routines, habits, mannerisms, and consider how others see you. Step back and get some valuable perspective. Imagine how much more effective you could relate to others if you could see yourself as they do. Step away from yourself, then look back and see the possibilities in a new and powerful light. Take that from me, dini-mussolini. That is my word, and word is bond.
You're live in the mix. Let's get this started.
Yo, hello and welcome to another awesome episode of Inside the Music, or Inside the Book, Inside the Business, where we dive into the minds of the people who create marvelous things. It feels so good to be back with you guys once again. So one time for my people who are indigos, crystalline or starseeds, or for my Vigilantes audience family, and 2 times for my people who are vegetarian or vegans. If you're like me, we are averaging over 37,000 live listeners, and we've been at this for 4 solid years. I appreciate all you guys who've been rocking with the kid on this journey, and we are still evolving, baby. It is all because of you, most definitely. We are the people who have dedicated their lives to music, spirituality, business, literature, art, movies, and research in every aspect, and we want to allow you an opportunity to tell your story. Man, we've had celebrities on our show, from Grammy Award-winning artists to nominees to actors, comedians, CEOs, technology geniuses, visual artists, from authors to professors and aliens, or people who think they're aliens. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. Come on our show and talk to me. So check it out. To book an interview or just to share a real cool story, email me at vradio@onlyonemediagroup.com, and that's V as in Victor. I'm passionate about what I do, just as passionate about what you do, and together, yes, together, we can get your voice heard by the people who should hear it. So let's create something incredible. You know the number to dial, 701-801-9813. text that number to your buddy right now and tell them to tune in to connect with us or our guests, or you can hop in the mix directly from our website, onlyonemediagroup.com. Right from the homepage, you can slap that go live button and you'll be right here live in the mix and in the chat room with all of us. Feel free to shoot over some questions to ask our guests while they are here, but only as time permits. Sometimes my guests and I talk entirely too much and we take up the entire hour. And as always, all episodes are available for free download, and you can grab that from either Spreaker.com/onlyonemediagroup, iTunes, YouTube, or any app from the Google Play or iTunes Store, or over at our website. And that goes for every single episode that we ever aired.
All right, guys, tonight's interview is the Dr. Leonie-Mattison interview. And again, I'm your host, Dini-Mussolini. And truthfully, it's always my hope that one day I'll be much more of a well-rounded, musician and an actor and writer than I already am. As much as I appreciate the credit and supportive messages from you all, thanks for the emails, of course, I believe that I can always do a whole lot better. Know more, hear more, write more, be more. In this pursuit, I'm counting on finding fantastic authors and motivators like Dr. Leonie-Mattison that can help us discover some of the things we've been missing, through our own acting, our own writing, and through interviews like this, a better understanding of where the passion all comes from, and I can appreciate a direct response that leaves no bones for interpretation. We'll get a ton of history of Dr. Leonie and her work, a real intense look at her personality and approach to her career, a real sense of what is and isn't important to her in life. It's completely refreshing, honest interview, as direct as it gets. I'm proud to be able to bring this talented author and motivator and the unique traits go on and on. I'd like to welcome her to this show. So with that, guys, let's go ahead and welcome her on. Hello, you're now live and mixed with all of us. How's it going?
Good evening. It's going well in beautiful Santa Barbara, California. How are you?
I am doing great. Blessed by the best. No stress.
That's awesome.
Definitely. So, tell us, let's get some history and about yourself. The whole genesis of Dr.
What would you like to know?
You can go as far back as you like, but really want to know your story.
Okay, alrighty. Okay, so first and foremost, there's a quote that I really like that I believe really has helped me over the years, and also it really speaks to my history. And Edwin Lewis Cole said, "You don't drown by falling in the water. You drown by staying there." And I think the meaning of that is pretty clear. You only lose a battle when you fall down and you don't get up. And that's what I'd like to talk about with you today. A mother of 3 beautiful daughters, and I also have a dog, and they all light up my world. I'm a daughter, a sister, an author, organizational and talent development practitioner, a speaker, and a woman's mentor. But first and foremost, I do have some dark side of my life that it will be remiss of me not to say that I am a survivor of spiritual, emotional, physical, and sexual abuse, as well as severe bouts of Bell's palsy and a stroke. And at one point in my life, I tried to commit suicide. So let me give you a little bit of history. I am sure you hear the accent going. I grew up on the beautiful island of Jamaica, the West Indies. I love Jamaica. I always call it my sweet, sweet Jamaica, the land where, if you think about it, I'm not sure if you've ever been there, but we consider Jamaica the land where the turquoise waves of the Caribbean Sea roll onto the white sand beaches and on the northern shores, and black sand beaches on the southern shore. So we're pretty proud of our island. Now, the land for us is where the palm tree sways, and we have breathtaking mountains, and the temperature is always airy. You talk to Jamaica, they'll tell you everything is airy. Now, despite being raised in a lush tropical island, I felt like I grew up on the wrong side of the world, because the harsh realities of my life overshadowed the beauty of the land that I was surrounded by. Now, when I was 5 years old, my father immigrated to the United States to build a better life for our family. My mom told me, I asked her recently, I said, remind me again, how old was I when my daddy left? And she said I was only 4 years old. And growing up, I remember hearing my relatives say that my dad was going to come back. My dad would return, that he went to America to get a better life for the family. I heard from my relatives that he planned to come back home for me, my siblings, and my mother once he secured a home. This plan never came to fruition, because instead of doing what he promised, I'm sorry, I'm going to get a little bit choked up. My father divorced my mother without her knowledge. And he then remarried and started another family in America, abandoning us to fend for ourselves. Now, understand, for a young girl, the story I told myself growing up was that nobody loved me, and men always leave and they never come back. And I grew up feeling angry. I grew up feeling not wanted. So then ultimately I became the product of divorce. I am the product of divorce, and was raised across the island of Jamaica. You call the states, we call parishes in Jamaica. So I bounced around for a long time, because my mother didn't have anywhere to call her own. And so we lived wherever we could. So at one point we were homeless. So we lived wherever we could at any time, including my grandmother's home, other families, members, and even strangers. And so you have to imagine now, as a helpless child without a caring parental force in my life, unfortunately, I was sexually abused by family members, physically abused by my mother. I've since forgiven her, and we now have a good daughter-mother relationship, good mother-daughter relationship. And then later on, when a few years later, there was a hurricane in Jamaica, I remember my daddy came back. We were older. When my daddy came back, we were much older, and we didn't know him. But one thing I would say, I'm grateful for his mother, and I just recently realized this, that it could have been worse. His mother stepped in, my grandmother, and she allowed us to stay at his home, but it was hell living there. She lived in America, in Canada, while we were in Jamaica. But then my dad came home, as I said before. He came back, and then he left, and then ultimately he moved us to the U.S. And unfortunately, the abuse continued when I came to the U.S. I came to the U.S. as a Caribbean girl. We grew up in the church. I knew the church. Because I was searching for that daddy love, I wanted my dad. I started looking for the love that my heart desired. I started looking for that in older men. And I got married to someone who was much older than me. That didn't work out. And long story short, I'll summarize it for you. During that time, I remember I had my first daughter. And as a teenager, I got pregnant at 19, had her at 20. I didn't know what postpartum depression was. I didn't know. And as I was going through, I did what I saw my mom did. I turned to the church. And when I went to the church for help while going through a postpartum depression, the clergy, the minister, the faith-based leader raped me. And that sexual abuse continued for years. And I grew bitter. And I grew angry because I had no one to protect me. And so I've gone through all of these, what I call soul-crushing experiences. And somehow, all the time, every time that life knocked me down, I can't explain it to you, but somehow I found the strength to get back up again. And as I was rising, I met what I call the designer in me. Life gave me some threads that I didn't like, but I met a designer in me, and I started to thread everything that I've been through. And the fact that I was able to rise above them, and you have to understand that between the abuses, I also had Bell's palsy, which is a disfiguration of the face. And then after that, I had a stroke. I couldn't talk. I couldn't walk. I couldn't use the right side of my body. But guess what? I kept going. I tried. I got back up again. I was able to get out. And when I got out, I went back to school, graduated with an MBA. I went back to school, graduated with a PhD. I struggled, but I never gave up. Never gave up. And that's one of the reasons why I wrote this book. It's written with a focus on the many abuses that women suffer, mental, physical, sexual, and spiritual. And my message to them is that you can get up. If you can look up, and it's not cliche, you can get up. And you can design a better next chapter. So although life doesn't, I don't know for you, but I know for me, I didn't get a manual with life. But one of the things that I discovered when I was down, I was at the very ground. I realized, girl, you at the ground already, so might as well you just start building a foundation. I created what was called a roadmap. This is what the book is all about, is this roadmap that I've designed. I call it a 6-step thread system for overcoming and moving beyond trauma and life challenges to transforming. I want women and the men who love us to learn how to transform what life has given to you into what you want to live, to experience, to enjoy. And you do it not only on your own, but I talk about all of this that I've done through God with Him. And now I want to help others to do the same.
Yeah. Wow. It's quite a story.
Yes.
Your book is not only a book. It's kind of like a teaching tool, right? Like a manual. You're right. You're right. It is like a guide, a manual. I call it like a journey to, as an invitation for women to come on this journey. And through my hard-won wisdom and the lessons that I've discovered, let's learn together so that the next generation of women that's coming up, and the men too, the boys that's becoming men, that the men don't have to repeat these behaviors, and that our women or girls, they don't have to go through what I have been through. It's time to end this. It's time for it to stop. It's time for men to understand what it does to us, and then how for years I stayed down. I didn't know how to love a man. Nobody taught me how to love a man. Nobody taught me how to relate to a man. It wasn't until I met Jesus that I understood that what happened to me, it doesn't mean that it's going to happen again, and that I could forgive the past, and that I could invite a man in, and I could trust again. But I had to learn. I had to take baby steps. So the thread, let's talk about that in a little more detail. How are we supposed to read the book? Is it part 1 to part 2, step 1 to step 2, or is it kind of a roadmap to where we can evaluate our own lives from where we are to where we want to be and need to be in life?
Absolutely. You hit the nail on the head. The book is not, how do I put this, the best way to put it for you? The book is not, and it is in no way, shape, or form intended for women to stay stuck. It's to help you, women and men, to get unstuck. So yes, it's threading through this system. And how I describe it, I want to share with you how I describe it for us. The thread is an acronym, right? THREAD. The system, the roadmap, is actually an acronym. And I want if I am allowed to, may I walk you through that step?
Sure thing. Yes, please.
Okay. So the thread it's a roadmap. And the acronym, let me go through one step by step. We're going to go through the 6 steps. The first step 1, the T. One is to think. Think of actions you can take to inspire yourself to either talk to God about what's going on with you, the pain that you've endured, but we've got to start speaking up about what we've been through so we can examine whether or not it's the truth or it is our truth. So I want us to think. The T is to think, take, talk. So think of actions you can take to inspire yourself to talk to God about the pain in your past. So I want you to ask yourself, what outcome do I want to achieve? Because when you know where you want to go, then anywhere will not become everywhere. You are more focused. The step 2H, harvest, hold, honor. Harvest your actions and hold yourself accountable to honoring the value in your past experiences. It's like I'm asking women to hold the strings, like hold it with both hands. I bring everything to the table, lay them out, be honest about how you're feeling, be honest about what you've been through, how it makes you feel, and hold those strings, hold them. And then you get to decide now. Let's move on to step 3. Now that you know you've brought everything to the table, I want women to release what doesn't work for her. Release the fear. Release rejection. Release regret. You're not at fault. So you can rise to recognize your worth. Gotta let it go. Once you realize that, you know what? Me carrying the fact that my dad left, me carrying the fact, these are objective truths. My dad left. I was raped. I was sexually abused. I was spiritually abused. Was doesn't mean it's happening to me today. So it's time to release it, right? So ask yourself, what do I need to let go of to be able to move forward? Then 4, E, enlist, embrace, empower. Enlist allies to support you to embrace your purpose and become the woman or the man that empower others to do the same. So ask yourself, whom should I connect with? And when I use this tool, I tell women, no man is an island and no man stands alone. So maybe you need to go to therapy. Maybe you need to see a coach, maybe a mentor, read a book, go to a workshop, take medication. Whatever will help you, once it will not harm you, get the support, get the help so you can move forward to the step 5, which is to adapt, allow, aspire. Adapt new mindsets and behavior, and allow yourself to aspire and make a difference in the world. So I want you to ask yourself, what new habit do I want to start? What old habits do I need to let go of or stop? And the last step, now that we've gone through all of these steps, now we're at the last chapter in the book, which is a longer chapter. It's step 6, dream, develop, design. Dream differently. Develop your gifts and design your life with intention. Now ask yourself, what is my next step? So I want people to be thinking legacy. I want people to be looking at the design, not at the backside of the quilt of your life, but look at the beautiful design, everything that you've been through. Look at what the pattern, what it looks like, and get inspired to keep going and doing even better for the next generation and the next generation to come. And that's how I have, that's how the chapters are laid out, is to provide this tool, this roadmap, this guide for these women and the men who love us and those, the men who will read the book. It's not to lament over the past and stay stuck, but I want you to get unstuck, and I'm going to push you. This book, by the time you're through reading, you're on the road runway about to take off. I want this book to help others to take off. Time to move on. Take off and move on into your destiny. Move on. Move on. Bless and release and move on.
Yes, indeed. And I believe great heroes and motivators are preceded by matching reputations. What are you doing these days to leave your mark and imprint in this world?
Thanks for asking. So to ensure that my story, the wisdom and knowledge does not die with me, I am sharing and using my life story of how I turned trauma into transformation, into intentional transformation, actually, to really help women free themselves from past painful experiences and journey to becoming healed, happy, and whole. In my community, I volunteer. I'm part of a board to help young people who are at risk, some of the at-risk youths who live in a low-income population. We're using flight lessons to really help them to see a different point of view. So when you're up in the air and you get to see over Santa Barbara, trust me, the view is totally different from when you're on the ground. And so we want to show youth that that's what life is all about. You can't stay stuck in one place, but you've got to branch yourself out. And education does that for you to be able to see a different perspective. And then the other thing that I'm doing here in Santa Barbara, I am also an adjunct professor. I also teach at the local community college. And as often as I can, I educate and empower women to know they do not have to allow the pain of the past to rob them of their today and tomorrow. And then in addition to that, I am an organizational and talent development practitioner, and I'm in the business of really cultivating a culture of learning where people learn with in different modalities. People use different tools and interventions to really help to upskill them, to take them to the next level in leadership. So I'm doing that here in Santa Barbara County. And lastly, I provide talented women and with guidance, support, and I connect women. I was thinking this even as I was getting ready for the show, that actually one of my mentees is now, she's my physician. She's my doctor, and she was a research assistant when I met her. Mentored her through graduate school and on to physician assistant, and now she's practicing here in Santa Barbara, and I get to go see her. So I am trying different ways to really leave my mark before my time on earth, comes to an end.
Most definitely. And how did your journey begin as an author? Was the process a difficult one, or something, something that you recommend and share with others to pursue as well?
I've always enjoyed writing. always. I love to talk, and I love talking about spirituality, self-improvement, business concepts, and find that I had, and I still do, have a knack of assessing. I love to assess and teach and communicate. I love looking at big data, assess it, and then share recommendation, advice, or ideas, to regular people. And I find it easy for me to concisely share information in a digestible manner. So I knew those things about myself. I also know, and I'm really grateful and have had the privilege of exploring my passion for talent development and helping others to unleash the best in them. Would I recommend writing or becoming an author to others? Absolutely. Because the thing is, I didn't find sharing my story with people who have never experienced hardship to be fulfilling. I wanted to share my story, explain how I overcame the adversities to fulfilling my purpose, and I wanted to use that to ignite and empower others to believe what was possible for themselves. So at first, yes, I was afraid. I was afraid to write because I didn't feel like I had anything relevant to share. I knew I had gone through a lot, but I didn't even know where to begin. So I remember one weekend I sat down. A friend had challenged me because I kept talking about all the things I've been through. And I was speaking with so much joy. And she said, I'm going to challenge you. Why don't you put that down on paper? And I'm like, okay. And here's what I did. That weekend, I sat down and wrote an outline for the book. I used Google Voice to record my ideas. I used, there's another app that I used. After I recorded it, I was able to transcribe it. And then after transcribing it, I used Grammarly to perfect my writing. And then after that, I was able to record again and listen to I recorded what I wrote and was able to listen to my recording so that I could make any edits that were necessary. And after that, after I had like a couple pages of the outline and the manuscript, I then went on Fiverr and secured the services of a ghostwriter. But I used my phone, my Samsung S7, I think I have Edge, and I record everything. My entire manuscript was recorded, hours of recording. But I just recorded on my heart. I recorded it. And then God sent me help, and folks helped me along the way.
That's using innovation, Wow.
Yes. I maximize the use of technology to my advantage, yes.
Yes, most definitely. So what about the journey as a motivational speaker? How did that begin?
As a motivational speaker, that actually started in church. I started in church. I don't know, for some reason, I've always had the joy in me. Even although I've been through a lot, I've always found when I was my happiest was when I was able to inspire and motivate or uplift someone just to make them smile. I always find joy in that. And then I also realized that people were giving me feedback ever since I was a young girl. And they always say, you make me feel better. Or what you said, you're too old, you're too young, too old for your age. Something like that. Like, the way I would speak, they would say, you sound like an old woman who lived here a long time ago. And that's kind of where it got started, where I would say people embracing who I am as a speaker. And it's like they empowered me to perfect it. So I have secured the services of a coach. And I would bring my ideas to the coach, again, writing things out and talking it through with others to kind of hear, not to get validation per se, but that empowerment is just so important. And then I took it from church to work. I really sought out careers that, provided me the opportunity to connect my passion to my purpose. And I actually believe that I've always believed that I'm a motivational speaker because of the impact that I have heard from others that when I speak, what it has done for them. And so I believed it, and I just put the resources towards my passion and just continue to perfect it.
Nice. All right. So I've read on your website about starting on a journey, to intentional transformation. I've never heard that phrase before. What exactly is intentional transformation?
Okay. People often refer to change as new beginnings, right? But transformation more often happens not when something new begins, but when something old falls apart, forcing us through an actual process of letting go so we can become. And so it's being intentional about moving beyond deep pain, moving beyond wounds and scars, and being intentional about transforming it to bring out the best or the most impactful and authentic version of oneself so we can live the life God ordained for us. So it's like being laser focused. So I'm dealing with, whenever I'm interacting like with women, and they'll say to me, I really want to, I want to go back to school. I'd like to obtain my degree, or I have these health challenges and I'd like to, become vibrant in my well-being. And then I'll ask them, okay, what are you willing to do? What are the steps that you're willing to take to get there? And oftentimes they're stuck. They see where they want to go, where they want to be, but oftentimes we don't understand that we have to be intentional about getting there. We have to be laser focused, and sometimes we may even come across as being a little bit selfish in our pursuit. But in order for us to achieve the goal that we're wanting, we have to stay focused, and we have to practice, establishing boundaries. Knowing what, there's some things I can't do, there's some things I must do, and then figuring how we balance and kind of meet ourselves in the middle so that we stay focused on where we want to go.
All right. So I'm dealing with music industry coaching, and sometimes I do dabble in life coaching on the side sometimes via social media. And using this platform here. And I've experienced a ton of community, positive love and support through my promotions and platform. But there are times I encounter people who generally believe or are led to believe in almost nothing, or at least question things as fast as they can in an effort to reveal the true intentions behind our words as mentors in a sense. And, some things that scare some the most, and I'm not saying that all these apply to you and your mission, but the things that tend to scare people the most or make them question the potential gimmickry behind the machine are things like people claiming to have all the answers or that one and only answer that exists, guarantees and promise, lists and ratings that reflect pop culture trends and needs of fast clicks and entertainment. So I'm going to ask you this. Does this ever cross your path? And if so, how do you deal with it?
So as a Christian, I don't believe that there's one hat that fits all. I never believe that. And I also believe that so my source of power is God right off the back. And I don't believe I have all the answers. And yes, I do encounter situations where people are a little bit stuck or struggling to believe something. But this is where I always tell people to take them back to who are you? Understanding who are you? Are you aware of who you are? And if you're not really able to answer the question about who I am, that's kind of where you have to start. Who are you? Why are you here? What were you created to do? What impact are you making, or what impact were you created to make? And oftentimes people are not able to answer those questions. And I believe the awareness, just becoming aware of who you are, then when the gimmick comes around, because you are authentic and you understand who you are and you understand your purpose, then you can acknowledge that the gimmick exists, but you don't have to participate in it. And you don't have to allow it to drag you down or change your views or perspective or kind of bump you off track. We just have to recognize that when you are in purpose, one of the things I always tell women, a broken focus cannot hit a target. A broken focus cannot hit a target, a moving target, actually. It just can't. And so not everything or what everybody says will resonate. And when it doesn't resonate, another thing that I tell women, bless and release. Keep it moving. Keep it moving. I don't like steak. I don't. I don't. I was traumatized as a kid growing up. I don't like steak. But I will heat the God out of a pig. Okay? Now, I know that about myself. I know that, so why am I going to argue with you about what I like or what you like? No, I can honor and respect how you feel about the cow. And if you don't choose to honor how I feel about the pig, bless and release, brother. Keep it moving. It's okay. We don't have to argue. So it's becoming aware of who you are, why you're here, what purpose you're called to fulfill, and then coming in alignment and agreement with your Creator as to what resources you need to fulfill that purpose, and stay focused.
Most definitely. All right. So I have a question for you. Does having a father that abandoned his family or daughter affect her future dating life? Will she always be searching for her father figure in a mate?
Wow. That's a deep one. Okay, let me do my best to respond to this question. Thanks for asking that. Now, in my calling as a woman's mentor, I have had the privilege of interacting with women who, they've dealt with some hard social ill related to fatherlessness. And I'm also, again, unfortunately, I have that experience as well. Now, it can, if she allows it to, right? Remember, everything comes back to our choices and our intention. So if she allows the fact that she was abandoned by her father to affect her future dating life, that's her choice. So when I tell women, we have to recognize that we really do not have enough strength to carry around the pain of the past. So it is in our best interest to let go of the things that does not serve our destiny and draw, right, close to the things that will help to propel us forward. It's a matter of choice. At some point, you've got to, Sunday I wrote in my journal, it's time to get up from the tomb. It's time to get up from the tomb of who left. It's time to get up from that tomb. Daddy left. We're going to acknowledge that he left. But here's the thing. I don't feel that it's right for me to look for, and trust me, I've done it, so I'm only speaking from my experience. When I search for my father in my ex-husband and maybe other men that I have been in contact with, guess what? I have an expectation. The poor men don't know what my expectations are. And their failure to fulfill my expectations, that's where the brokenness in the relationship comes to play. So that woman really has to go back to the thread step. She has to take all those pieces and bring them in front of her. And she has to recognize that, look, I have to think about the outcome I want. Do I want a husband or a daddy? Because I don't know about you, boy. I don't want to marry to my daddy. I do not want to marry to my father. Okay? I don't. Let's put that right out there. I don't. Especially the fact that he left me. I do not want to meet my daddy, my husband. So you have to think, what outcome do I want? And then the age, what have I learned from my dad leaving? I learned that I felt empty. I learned that abandonment is not really nice. It's not a nice thing. It leaves you feeling lost, and sometimes you blame yourself. So think about all the things that you've learned. Bring them, put them in front of you, right? And then the R, then you're going to say, okay, it's time for me to release this. I acknowledge how I feel. I know what results I want. Carrying this baggage will not help me get there. So it's time to say, Daddy. And sometimes, you know what? I've actually helped women to write the letter to their dad. I've actually walked women through writing the letter and burning the letter, letting it go. I've walked women through calling up their dad if they know where he is and having that conversation. And I've had women just sit with it. And there is a practice, an Hawaiian practice, and I'm going to butcher it now with my accent. It's called Oponopono. Have you ever heard of it?
I haven't, no.
No, it's called the Oponopono prayer. It's an Hawaiian prayer. And what I love about this, when I first came across the concept of how to release the daddy wound, you know, I call them the long-standing daddy wound that wouldn't go away from me, and how I kept searching for, you know, my dad in these men, and when they failed to meet my needs, then I was blaming them, and the poor men had nothing to do with it. So if you want to Google it at some point, it's spelled H-O-O-P-O-N-O-P-O-N-O prayer. And it's an Hawaiian prayer, and it comes from Oho to make and Pono write. And it's a repetition of words, which means it's like a double rightly, and it is a process by which we use to forgive others. We forgive ourselves with it, and then we can forgive others. And it's pretty simple, but it's probably a little bit challenging for those who are just starting out. But basically, you're saying these 4 phrases. I am sorry. I am sorry. Forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Because the forgiveness part is you held it against yourself. A lot of women won't admit it, but we blame ourselves for why our daddy left. So we have to forgive ourselves. Like, I forgive me. Sometimes if it's to forgive the next person, you can say, Daddy, I forgive you. Because here's how I forgave my father. I told my father, you know what? You only did what you had the knowledge to do. He did what he had the knowledge to do at that time. He did. So I can forgive him. He didn't have the 21st century knowledge that you have today. You have the knowledge, and you don't have to repeat that, right? And so we forgive the person, and then you thank yourself for, rising to be able to do that, and then just love on you and love on others. Because we are love. And so I would say, no, don't go searching for daddy in your mate. That is too huge of a responsibility on that man. I would say deal with it now first and get help to deal with that, and then bless and release it, forgive it, and move on. It's too much for the man. And that's just my perspective. Maybe you can share from a male's perspective. If I did that to you, or if your wife or fiance did that to you, requiring of you to do that, how would that make you feel? Maybe we need to hear from the men's perspective when we do that to you, how it makes you feel.
Yeah. I mean, if the expectations are laid out on the table in the first beginning, then you'll kind of know. But if you're blindly, going through a relationship and there's some hidden expectations and you're not quite meeting those, of course, that relationship's going to be doomed for failure. So, finding out, root causes, I think, are always important. Like past traumas, what happened to you, this happened to me. And laying those out, in all honesty, because that vulnerability is going to be there. And we're going to look for bandages and a way to cover up this pain or temporary happiness to fill this void, and seek that in a mate without truly understanding what it is that we need to get over. And I think that works well. We also have expectations that may be hidden because of past traumas that we don't realize there's traumas there. So I think the most helpful thing from a male perspective is finding out what those expectations are, instead of being blind to the fact that there is a standard that she's setting me up for. And me meeting those standards are, completely just wiping all that out, say, hey, this is what I have to offer you. Is it enough? Or is it not enough?
And, thank you for sharing that. And as you were speaking, if another goal of mine with this book, and you've just inspired me, is for women to read the book, and those things, the things that are in us that we've never really, as we always say, we don't go there. I'd love for her, this book, to really help her to go there.
Yeah.
To just go there and lay it out on the table. I would love for young girls who have gone through the fatherlessness situation, and as they're, moving into their dating life, to be able to acknowledge that I've been through this, I'm getting help, or maybe they haven't started to address it, but just the very fact that you're able to acknowledge and not feel shamed by it. Because the reason why a lot of women don't talk about it is because of the shame. There's a certain shame that we carry, right? And so if I would love if this book would prepare men for that conversation. Because I don't know who my husband is going to be. And I'm hoping that whoever it is read my book and they're able to deal with what I have been through. It doesn't mean I'm looking for a savior. It just means that I have these things in my past. They're in the past, right? I've dealt with them. I've acknowledged that I've been through them. Here is the Leonie as she is today. I'm not broken, but let me tell you, there are instances where when I talk about my story, when I share my story with others, it triggers some emotions for me. And the emotions that arise is this gratitude that I survived, right? Not very many women survive what I have been through. And so there's so much gratitude. And that's what I would say if I were to talk to a woman, if she was on this phone or if she's listening when the recording, is released, is to say, sweetheart, you survived it. You lived without a dad. You've gone through the years without one. Yes, there is the void, but you can acknowledge that it exists. And you don't have to use that as a black thread to knit, to sew and isolate yourself from men, or to use it as a paintbrush to say all men are like that, because I don't believe that. But you can use what you've learned and to have the conversation so that you can move forward, to release what you've been through and move forward to finding happiness. I want women to find happiness because I'm so ready to meet my life partner, right? But I'm waiting. I'm very patient. I'll wait because God is still working on me. But at the same time, I'm so grateful for this process and this book, because it really has helped to, I would say, empower and ignite healing for me. So I know it will do the same for women and men as well.
Most definitely. All right. So what are some remedies that you think that could help in these traumatic situations for women who view black men in a negative light, as a direct response to abuse or abandonment?
Let me say, at some point in our lives, all of us will experience heartbreak. All of us. Now, I said it earlier, I didn't elaborate, but my earliest memory of my parents is actually filled with sadness from seeing my father beat my mother, hearing my mother cry all the time, to waking up to a single-parent home where I would live, like I said, with strangers and different family members and went through the abuse, etc. Now, you have to understand that the people who abused me were people I trusted to take care of me. And then growing up as a teenager, I would say 90% of the time, I contemplated suicide. 90% of the time. These traumatic situations really, it painted a black image of men in my mind. I hated men growing up. Not that I didn't like them. I hated men. Because my dad left, men abused me, right? So I have no loving story. I do not up until today, until very recently as I got older and invited, different people that I trusted in my life. But I can't really say I have a true love story. And, Leonie, I don't have that. I don't. But at the same time, I don't see myself at this point, now that I've gone through the process, I've gone through some remedies, I would say therapy. The number one backup, I would say, but a lot of women are not there yet, and I acknowledge that. I used to always say the answer is Jesus. Ultimately, it is, but the truth, I'm going to be honest and raw, and I talk about this in my book. When you've been traumatized, when you've been abused by men, you don't want to have anything to do with God because you see God as a man. So you can't approach. When I was first going through my healing journey, you couldn't talk to me about God. I didn't like him. I wanted nothing to do with him because I blamed him. In fact, I wrote a poem that wasn't very nice. It's in my book, but it was how I felt at the time. Okay? And so you have to allow yourself to go through that process. But I would say get help. Go to whether it's therapy. If you don't want to do the therapy route, but you want to maybe go through spiritual counseling, I say do it. Whatever it takes to really help the woman or the man to acknowledge what they've been through and get some help to release it. Right? So I would say that was some of my remedies are, like I said, the clinical route or the spiritual route, but don't try to do it on your own. Now, today, I am fulfilling and living my purpose. I am the expression of what I've been through because I speak about it. I share my story all the time. But now people would say, you don't look like what you've been through. But, honey, it has taken years to get here. It didn't happen overnight. So, no, I no longer view black men as they're the cause of my problems that I've had in the past. But I will be honest enough to tell you that the abuses and the trauma that I've been through were caused by black men. Now, if you asked me a couple of years ago if I wanted anything to do with black men, I would tell you no, because I didn't know how to embrace them. But over time, through reading, workshops, like I said, clinical help, spiritual help, and really having that close relationship with God, I realized, no, you can't blame others for what this one person or two persons have done in your life. You can't blame everybody else for it. It's not right. And I was cutting off my circulation of love as well. So, those are some of the thoughts, as it relates to that question.
Most definitely. So let's chat about tearing down these walls of mistrust, feelings of not being wanted, self-esteem for the next generation of young black girls, to encourage them that healing is possible. I know there's a lot of young girls out there with no fathers at all in their lives. So, yeah, let's chat about that.
So the reality is that, without the father, the lack of protection, presence, and what I call praise, pronouncement, and provision, the things that we as women need to create that deep, I would say that love, when that's there, there's a void. There is a void. And the fact that I didn't grow up hearing my daddy ever tell me that he loved me, when others, I remember when females would say it, I would embrace it, but if a man ever told me that, man, I would slap him upside the head because I thought he was lying. I remember physically having a fight with someone who told me that they loved me. I physically had a fist fight with them. I didn't know how to embrace it. Today, because of what I've been through, I think this is why I wrote the book, to invite women to the table. Let's have this conversation so we can help the next generation. So the book is written with a focus on these many abuses, and how we can help the next generation of women to not have to go through what we've been through. But we've got to start talking about it. We have to bring the issues to the table and together problem solve and come up with solutions to help the next generation of women to understand what maybe they may not understand it, but just to hear our story and to hear from their perspective to what they've been through, because a lot of our women are going through. I see it on the job. I hear it when I go to workshops. They are going through real issues around this topic, and they're longing to have or encounter solutions. And so bringing the roadmap to say this is, like it says, a guide, a manual, and bringing that to the table and working through the steps. You have to work through the steps to be able to experience the healing. So I would say to tear down the walls of mistrust, we have to have the conversation that it exists. Now, the feelings, I think that's personal. To tear down a feeling, that's a personal, intentional decision and steps that these women would have to take. And again, I would say my introduction of the thread system is a starting point to helping these women to be able to tear down the walls of mistrust, to tear down the feelings of not being wanted. I teach them how to self-care, how to self-love. I teach women how to build their self-esteem and confidence, and also to recognize who they are and the contributions and impact that they can make on the world.
Most definitely. All right, I love that. And heroes are usually inspired before serving as a source of inspiration. Who or what inspires you or refuels you when you run low on inspiration?
A couple of people I really enjoy listening to. I really enjoy the wisdom of like T.D. Jakes. I love to listen to T.D. Jakes. I feel inspired after listening to him. I enjoy listening to women like, I don't know if you know, Cindy Trim. You know, a very, I would say, I call her a prayer warrior. You know, if you want someone to kind of shake you when it comes to kingdom focus, that's the woman I turn to. I enjoy listening to, I like listening to Joel Osteen, regardless of what people have to say. There is inspiration that comes out of him as well. And I can connect with the Bible. So people will say, he never used the Bible. Well, you got to know your Bible. That's why he doesn't have to have the physical Bible there. Maybe all of us would try to get there. But I like the encouragement that comes from him. I love to listen to spiritual leaders who have been there. You can never get tired of listening to any of Martin Luther King's speech. I love Barack. I love his humility. So when I'm looking for leadership advice, I kind of know where who I can turn to and trust for, you know, the wisdom to be able to help and empower me. I read a lot of, I'm an avid reader, so I love to read book on self-improvement books. I love Greg McKeown book on essentialism, how to do less and not more. You know, so I have a plethora of authors I could go on and on and on, but I would say my first basis would be to turn to my faith and to be looking at some faith leaders that I really, I would say, admire and trust their leadership, you know, to really empower me as I continue to serve in my calling.
Most definitely. And guys, we are just over our hour, but we can't let Dr. Leonie go without doing our traditional hot seat. So we're going to play some music, catch our breaths, and we'll be back to put her in our hot seat. Our fans absolutely love this segment. She can either sing for us, maybe do some poetry, inspirational speech, maybe a freestyle rap, joke stories, even read from her book. The choice is hers. So you never know what these creative minds and vessels will produce in the spotlight. And today we'll find out if Dr. Leonie-Mattison has what it takes to be put on the spot, a test of her true artistry. Right now, we have an artist by the name of Arthur J. with his song, My Treasure Is You. We'll be right back.
Lord, I just want to thank you. That's where my treasure is. For everything you've been.
My treasure is you.
In my life. That's where my treasure is.
My treasure is you. Is you.
My treasure is. That's where my treasure is. My treasure is you.
right, and we are back. That was Arthur J. with his song, My Treasure Is You. We had him on the show last week, so if you didn't get a chance to hear that interview, go check it out right now. So, upside potential. Life is biased toward, the positive. You can only fall so far, but there is no limit to how high you can soar. You ever thought about that? Like, really? You can't go below the ground, unless you die or something, but physically speaking, you cannot go below the ground. But if you look up, the sky is wide open. Your dreams can only fall so far, but there's no cap to how high they can go. There are points at which, life cannot get any worse, but there is no point at which things cannot get better. You can only lose so much, but there is no limit to what you can gain. With every setback comes a real opportunity to grow, to move forward. And with every triumph, further triumphs become more likely. In every situation, there is a positive potential. Yes, the risks are there. Yes, the risks are infinite. Possibilities are infinite. Consider the incredible upside potential of your own life. No matter where you are, no matter what circumstances you find yourself in, your possibilities always outweigh your problems. Those positive possibilities are yours for the living. So claim them. What are you waiting for? Take that from me, dini-mussolini. That is my word, and word is bond. But for right now, let's bring back the woman of the moment. Dr. Leonie, you're back live with us and in our hot seat. What are you going to perform for us?
Okay. You didn't warn me about that one. I'm going to be reading for us from the book. I'm going to read a section from the book. It's called From Scraps to a Masterpiece.
Okay.
Romans 8:28 in the King James Version of the Bible says, "And we know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose." I learned the power of transforming something that seems worthless into something that has a purpose from my grandmother, whom we affectionately call Mama. My family didn't have as much as other families in our community, but Mama loved to quilt, and she used her passion for quilting to create beautiful bedspreads. Instead of buying fabric, she asked my siblings and me to bring her any pieces of cloth that we could find. The colors, size, and shapes didn't matter to my grandmother because she could use them all. We collected mismatched scraps of fabric left over from her previous sewing projects, ripped apart old pieces of clothing, and reused the material, and even asked our neighbors for random unwanted fabric. Once we gathered all the colorful scraps and cut them into pieces, Mama laid the pieces and began to organize her beautiful masterpiece. She kindly included us in the making of her works of art. After she properly assembled all the scraps of material, she guided us through stitching them together one at a time. When the quilt top was complete, we took turns making our best tiny stitches to join the top up with the bottom. Mama had to go over some of our stitches to ensure the threads were pulled tightly together. But what mattered to her was finishing the quilt as a family. We laughed a lot while creating the quilt, but we also cried in frustration from inevitable finger pricks, lost needles, missed stitches, and family quarrels. Some days we were excited about working on the quilt together, and other days we didn't want anything to do with the quilting. Mama told us, don't worry. Every little thing is going to be all right. We're going to get it done and design a beautiful quilt that each of us will be proud of when we see it on the bed. Mama was right. Weeks later, when the quilt was finally finished and stretched out on the bed, no one could tell who had made which stitches. The individual pieces of fabric scraps and quilting stitches blended seamlessly together to form a stunning, multicolored, yet cohesive masterpiece. We were in awe of its beauty and the fact that we each played a significant role in its completion. Mama taught me that our lives are just like the quilt, comprised of multiple colors, scraps held together by threads of experience. Separately, the scraps appear useless and without much value, but together, they form a remarkable success story. My threads have taken me from Jamaica to the United States, from New York to New Jersey to California. I went from being a struggling college student to becoming an adjunct professor, from being a dispirited wife to a resilient divorced single mother raising 3 beautiful daughters, and from being fired as a temporary assistant to developing thriving leaders who build great organizations. I, Leonie, have experienced failures and successes. I have suffered depression and tasted the fullness of joy. I have faced thoughts of suicide and the promise of hope. My life threads have encompassed the good, bad, and in between, all to find and fulfill my purpose. Transformation is all about how we handle what happens to us. If life keeps throwing you the same recurring experiences, you can learn from them, grow from them, and find a healthy way to design a better version of yourself from them. The Thread. Lastly, the poem, The Thread by Leonie-Mattison. Our lives are woven by careful threads. They're intertwined to create moments. The laughter, the smiles, and love we share. The pain and hurt and tears we shed. She thought some threads were misplaced. They stuck out to make an imperfect design. But when the tears stopped blowing, her sight became clear and a new light shone. Each pain brought her close to his love. Each tear was for greater good. The hate she felt soon faded away. Her faith and hope became strongly renewed. It takes courage only few women can master to make her the transformed woman she always knew she was. She's treasured. She's loved. She's humble. She's resilient. She's energetic. She's ambitious. And destined for great things. For the threads make her realize the worth of the masterpiece God designed.
I love it. Wow. Dr. Leonie, let everyone know. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
As I said, I just read a section of the book and a poem. So the book has the story, how it's organized or structured. I talk about a woman or 2 women in the Bible and what they've been through. I talk about my story And then I introduce this woman or these women to talk about their stories. I include prayers. I also interpret some poets. And it's really to get her centered so that she can see for herself that, girl, you fell, you cracked, but you didn't break. Get up and go for the win. That's my message to women and men who love us.
Most definitely. Dr. Leonie, let everyone know where they can connect with you online and also purchase a copy of The Thread.
Sure, thank you. You can visit my website, www.leonie-mattison, and it's spelled LEONIEMATTISON.com. The book will be available. Actually, they can pre-order the book anytime. Anytime you can go on my website, you should be able to pre-order the book. You can connect with me on Facebook, Leonie H, as in Harry Mattison. I'm also on Instagram at Leonie H. Mattison. You can say hello to me on Twitter. I'm at Leonie Mattison. And if listeners and potential readers have questions, they can email me. I'm at leonie@leonie-mattison.com. So anywhere you put it, you put the Leonie, LEONIEH-MATTISON for Facebook and Instagram. And without the H, they can find me on Twitter. Please say hello to me. Don't be shy. They can email me, and I'm looking forward to, connecting and engaging with the readers.
Most definitely. And guys, just in case you didn't catch those links, I have them in the show notes and in the description of this episode. So they're hyperlinked, so all you have to do is click them. I just want to thank you so much, Dr. Leonie. Your message and journey is just super incredible and inspiring. And I wish you much success in the future. And may God bless you.
Thank you very much for having me, and you have inspired me as well. And as I said, as I'm moving forward in this journey, I can't wait to see what God's got in store for me. And I just pray blessings over you and everything that you're doing. May God increase you and bless you indeed. May He enlarge your territory. May God continue to use you as an instrument of His peace, of His blessings to those that you will interact with those that you're called to reach. May God bless you indeed. May the peace of God rest upon you. May the blessings and favor of God be upon you, around you, in everything that you do. I pray that God will bless the works of your hands. And thank you for being a light to the world as you help to tunnel those who are stuck in the darkness. That God will use this platform that He has called you to manage at this time. May you use it for His glory. May God bless you. I just feel to pronounce a blessing over you tonight. May God bless you indeed and enlarge your territory. Keep evil far away from you and bless you. The Lord bless you. From my spirit, the Lord bless you tonight. God bless you indeed. God bless you.
Thank you. I received that. Thank you so much. Thank you. That means a lot.
You're welcome. God bless you.
All right. Have a blessed night.
Thank you, my Vigilantes family, as always, for checking out my podcast over here at Vigilantes Radio. All episodes are available for free download, and you can grab that from either Spreaker.com/Only One Media Group, iTunes, YouTube, any app that's on a Google Play or iTunes store, or our website. And that goes from every single episode that we've ever aired. If you'd like to request music or a particular guest or send something for me to play, email it to vradio@onlyonemediagroup.com. If it's music, please label it by artist and title. Here's my disclaimer. We are genre-free, we do not judge, and we absolutely do not base our opinions on hearsay but facts alone. And actually, you can scratch all of that because all of my opinions are always right. That's the bottom line. This is my show, so deal with it. Nah, just kidding. On behalf of myself, Dini-Mussolini, I appreciate all you guys for tuning in, either afterwards or live with us. Spread the word because sharing is caring. We stepped up our game just for you guys and our guests to make sure that you have the best experience here on our show. Be sure to connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, as well as Spreaker. We always follow back. That is the number one rule. Okay, well, just remember to be yourself and be absolutely great at just doing that. Avoid being too comfortable because you're messing with your potential when you do that. Peace and have a good night.
You are now listening to Vigilantes Radio, the people's choice for quality interviews, art, music, and hot topics. Hosted by Demetrius Houdini Black Reynolds of the duo No Longer the Hero. All episodes of this podcast are available for free download at www.onlyonemediagroup.com. This is a Seventh Sign Regime Rebirth Worldwide Syndicate exclusive.